Hello, and welcome back to the Women's Rugby Show weekly podcast with me, Sam. By the way, back again for episode 38 of the podcast. This week, the PWR reached the halfway stage after round nine, after the three games in round nine, following Bristol Bears against Exeter's postponement. Obviously, heading into this weekend, Bristol Bears will be taking on Sale Sharks on Sunday. Harlequins travel up to Loughborough Lightning. Trailfinders take on Exeter Chiefs, and there's the big one between Gloucester-Hartpury against Saracens on Saturday afternoon. That's the venue for one of our two games this weekend. We'll be also heading to Bristol on Sunday. Really excited for that one. We're really excited for this episode too. Before we get into it, make sure you check us out across all social medias. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget you can listen to us on the go on Spotify and also vice versa. Let's get into this one. It's sure to be a belter. So, Sarah, just first of all, thanks for chatting to us today. Just kind of how tough was Sunday conditions-wise and kind of to be playing in?
Yeah, it was not ideal conditions. The rain was really coming down in the second half and the wind was really blowing. So, yeah, I'm proud of the way that the girls kept throwing the ball around and we kept trying to play. I think that was testament to the attitude that we went in with at the weekend.
It's kind of how key was getting that 5 points in those tough conditions to kind of keep that momentum and get that momentum back up after the Bristol game.
Yeah, I think obviously every point counts at the moment. It's so tight in that top four race. So every point we can get really counts. So yeah, going in to win obviously was our main priority. And then if we win and getting the 5 points was our next priority. So yeah, it was really, really crucial that we got those 5 points.
And what was it like coming up against your brother?
Yeah, it was all right. Not quite done it like that before, so yeah, it was good in the week, a bit of build up between each other, but yeah, it was all good. Like he supports me and I support him massively, so yeah, it was just that mutual respect from each other, and yeah, I get bragging rights over Christmas, so it's quite nice.
And obviously coming into this weekend against Sarries, the game at the Stone X was kind of probably one of the games of the season so far in terms of a neutral, at least for the entertainment, the tries being scored, but obviously coming on the wrong end of the result. Just kind of what work-ons have you taken from that game heading into this weekend, first of all? Obviously you weren't playing in it, but
I think the neutral would have really enjoyed that game. I was going mental in the stands, like it was so frustrating. But I think we just need to go back to us. I think last weekend we played with an intensity that we probably haven't seen from us this weekend, not this weekend, this year yet. And I think that if we can bring that to each game, then we'll put ourselves in the best position possible to try and win that game. I think there's a lot that we did well in that game actually. Like obviously the result doesn't reflect that, but there's a lot that we did do well, and I think there's obviously things that we need to work on. To score that amount of points and not come out winning is pretty tough. So yeah, definitely some things to shore up.
and just kind of how important is a game against Saracens? Obviously, the two games against Bristol Exeter at home have been come away with losses. Just how important is this weekend kind of to in that battle for top four? Obviously, it's kind of five places going to four at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. We don't want to be on that in that fifth position. We need to pick up every point we can, like I said earlier, and taking points away from another top four candidate is ideal if we can. So yeah, just trying to get that win. And I don't think the opponent makes so much difference in terms of it being Sarries. I think it's just a top four opponent that we need to try and take some points off, and we need to try and get some points on the board. So yeah, I think every point is absolutely vital now.
And a relatively quick turnaround into another top four opponent the week after against Exeter. Just kind of how more difficult and how does that change kind of planning from week to week when you're going back to back against top four opposition?
I don't think it changes that much for us, to be honest. Like, I think personally for me, like, I love the games against the top four. Like, these are the games you want to be playing in. And if you want to win the league, these are the teams you're going to have to be beating. So, it's a massive challenge. And to have them back to back is difficult, but also good because if you got some momentum, it's good going into the game with momentum. If something goes wrong, you've got a chance to put it right against another top opponent. So, yeah, it's a big run into Christmas, but one we're looking forward to.
Perfect. Cheers, Sarah. Thank you. Best of luck for the weekend.
No worries, thank you.
Of course. Kelsey, just first of all, just big win at the weekend at Leicester. Just kind of how happy were you with that kind of bounce back in kickstarting this block before Christmas?
Yeah, really happy that we got the win. I think we're now under delusion that we had two losses back to back. We don't want to be in that position. So I think the last two games, getting the win, getting the 5 points, was that really massive for us.
And just wanted to kind of touch on the news from Canterbury yesterday with that boot deal thing, kind of every player within the PWR. Just kind of how big is that to kind of have the support of such a big manufacturer, big boot brand, to promote and make sure every player in the league has the adequate footwear to play a game?
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like boots are obviously really important to us playing, and obviously not everyone gets a chance to have like sponsors and stuff like that. So by them like stepping in and giving everyone pairs of boots is just huge for the game.
And just kind of looking ahead to this week, and obviously Gloucester-Hartpury, you got the win against them at the Stone X. Just kind of what reflections could you take from that first game heading into this one?
I think like they're a very strong team. They're back-to-back champions for a reason. So we know it's going to be a dogfight at the end of the day, but we're really looking forward to it. Like we're up for it just as much as they probably are. So we're looking forward to it. It's just going to be a very physical game, and hopefully the forwards can do that, and then let our backs shine as they do.
Going to kind of how much do you look forward to those physical battles? Obviously, it's going to be near enough a full international front row for both sides. So just how much do you look forward to that going into a game?
Yeah, these are the games you want to play in at the end of the day. Like everyone says it, and it's true. Like your best rugby comes from when you're being tested. Like I know if Mac's playing, like I'm gonna get put under the pump in scrum time, and I hope that I can do the same to her. And it's just a battle that we look forward to doing. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
And just how nice it'll be to kind of be playing in hopefully a little bit better conditions than it was for both sides playing this last weekend.
Yeah, yeah, especially being windy and wet, it becomes a lot of scrums. Makes my job a lot harder around the park. So hopefully, if it's better conditions, it means we can play a lot more out wide, give Zoe a bit more freedom to put kicks in everywhere. Um, and my legs are less tiring from doing 26 scrums.
And just kind of how big is this weekend and also the weekend after with Bristol for kind of the bigger picture of the season, obviously heading into the playoffs in that battle for the top four.
Yeah, like I think the league now is getting so much more competitive. Like you don't know who's going to be in top four this year, apart from obviously Exeter run away with it a bit, but all the other positions it's a proper fight. So these big games that we're like coming up, Bristol and Gloucester, we need to put our best foot forward and try and win these games if we want to secure like a spot in the semi-final, and then hopefully, obviously, the final being at Stonex, we want to be in that.
And just kind of how much of a driving force is knowing that if you get to that semi-final or win a semi-final, that it is going to be a home final.
Yeah, obviously, I think when it was down at Exeter, their players probably thought the same. When it was Gloucester, their players probably thought the same. Like, we want to play. It'll be unreal to win a final in front of your home fans on your home pitch. So, obviously, everyone wants to get there, no matter where you're playing. But obviously, it gives that little bit extra incentive to get there.
Perfect. Cheers, Kelsey. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Dave, just a couple of quick ones for me. Obviously, you mentioned kind of slotting the game, slotting in February, the rearranged game kind of puts it just before Quins away. Just kind of how tough did that make that run in now for you? And kind of a little bit frustrating, obviously.
Yeah, it is what it is, Sam. Unfortunately, like, there's nothing really we can do about it. As I said, I'd love to play on Christmas Day, but no one's behind me on that. So I think you just have to sort of the old adage, take each game as it comes now. Like we're looking at this as a bit of a 2-game block because it naturally falls into that 6-day turnaround. We're not going to get much prep into Saracens because of the Saturday game. And then after that, it is game by game, making sure that we put the best version of ourselves. Because you've seen the league, 5 goes into 4. And we don't want to be that 5th team. And every team's saying that, and every team doesn't want to be that team. And if it comes down to that Quins game on that Friday night, then so be it. We don't want to let it get that far, but the chances are that game could have a bearing on where everyone finishes within the league.
And you mentioned that short turnaround then from Sale to Sarries. Is it kind of any temptation to kind of rotate more than you would kind of in a week turnaround compared to a 6-day turnaround?
I think it would have been, Sam, if we'd have played against Exeter. I think now that everyone's had a rest, as I said, we can really use that to come in really fresh this week. Like, hopefully go out and give it a huge performance against Sale, and then back it up against Saracens and then have another rest into Christmas. Like that's how we will be looking at it. I think potentially you would have seen a different squad had we have played against Exeter with those back-to-back games, Gloucester and Exeter. I think this weekend you expect to see very similar squad that would have gone out to play Exeter last Saturday.
And you mentioned kind of the pace of that sale back three, obviously Nikita, Eva Wood, Sophie Hopkins. Kind of pretty exciting coming up against your back three of Jazz, Millie, Courtney Keat, the likes of them as well.
Yeah, and obviously Holly Thorpe to come back in for them, Renika Bonner to come back in for us as well. So look, it is exciting. And the thing for me is, if you're a young English winger at the moment, then you want to be putting your name in the hat because there are opportunities out there behind the likes of Abby Dow and obviously Ellie Kildern and Claudia McDonald probably. I think and Jess Breach, obviously she's injured as well. But from that perspective, I think there is a gap in the market for that 4th, 5th, 6th choice winger. And those 6 names we've just mentioned could all fill that pretty comfortably. So apart from Jazz, obviously, I think from that perspective, like it's quite exciting. But you want to be matched up against wingers with that capability. And I think, like you say, those little battles on Sunday are going to be really, really exciting.
And just how's Renika come back from Cape Town and Dubai? How much she enjoyed that kind of time away with GB?
Yeah, no, she's loved it. She absolutely loved it. She's enjoyed it. She can't really talk more highly enough of the program and the way she got on the girls. I made sure she did her uni studies when she was out there as well, begrudgingly, which is always an important part of it. And I think for her, like I said, we want to just get her back into the Bristol mindset now and that 15s mindset. We're incredibly proud of what she's done and the tries she scored and the performance she's had. She'll be reminded of Bristol mode pretty quickly.
And obviously, Lucy Burgess would have made her 100th appearance against Exeter, potentially doing it that this weekend. Just how brilliant is she as a player to the Bears, and kind of how important is she for the club?
Yeah, I think Burge, we said to her, we're not going to make her another video, unfortunately. So she's got a video now. So she'll just have to use that one. But I think, look, everyone talks about heartbeats of teams, and Burge is that energizer, that heartbeat of the Bears squad. She gets on with everyone. Like naturally, people, migrate to different people within squads. I think Lucy Burgess, you could put her next to anyone at any given time, and that she's a friend. And I think that's just epitomizes her as a character and her as a player. And I think that link between the backs and forwards, which she gives us, is outstanding. She's played in some fantastic games for us. None more so than last week against Gloucester-Hartpury. I thought she had an outstanding game there, and look, she'll be making her 100th appearance this weekend, and we can't wait, for her to do it again. Not quite Ashton Gate, but at Shaftesbury Park, and as we talked about it, that'll be just as exciting for her because she made her debut, I think, at Shaftesbury Park as well, which again is nice for her to sort of go full circle.
And just last one for me, obviously, one of the big games this weekend is Sarries against Gloucester, kind of potentially a massive one for that top 4 battle. Just how many of your eyes are going to be on that on Saturday afternoon?
Nah, none whatsoever. I'll just take a walk down. No, I think I'll be watching all the rugby Saturday. I think from both Alex's and Lily's perspective, I think that it's a big game, but you don't need to build it up more than it is because, like everyone knows, teams want to take points off each other. At the end of the day, you only get 4 points if you beat someone, and you're going to get 5 if you get a bonus point try. So no matter who it is, you've got to go and win those games. And I think it's going to be a fantastic game, and I can't wait to watch it myself. And I'm sure all our girls will be watching as well because obviously we've got Saracens the week after.
Hi, Steve. Just a couple of quick ones from me. You kind of touched on the rest week last weekend, but obviously after this week, you're going to have another week off before big game. Just kind of how does that affect the plans of the coaching staff, kind of the stop-starty nature of this season? Because obviously you've had bye week as well, league-wide rest week. It's kind of been very stop-starty recently.
To be fair, this was all planned out months ago. We kind of knew what our fixture list was going to look like. We all knew what was going on in terms of games and things like that. And if anything, that week leading, that rest week next week, it's not really a rest week, if that makes sense. We're still going to be training. And I say it's not really going to be a rest week because the girls are literally so excited about playing at Twickenham in that big game and hopefully trying to get a world record again in terms of attendance at a game and stuff like that, they just want any opportunity possible to put their hand forward to be in that side. So it's not, we just rest, we put our feet up. It's, again, girls are absolutely chomping at the bit. And again, as we only spoke to the coaching group the other day, actually how the back end of the season looks for us. Yes, it's really competitive, but actually we kind of feel in quite a good spot after having no bye weeks until now, that actually we're in a position where we're top four, we've got points in the bank, and actually other teams are going to have probably tougher run-ins than us over this back end of the season. So actually, we kind of feel like we're halfway through the season, but we're probably more than halfway because of the nature we've got in terms of some opportunities to rest and to build from there. So yeah, it's all been planned. It's all been well methodically planned out by Ross. That's definitely one of his strengths in terms of his planning. But no, we don't feel like it's a threat in terms of being a bit on off. We actually think it's a real positive.
It must make selection quite hard knowing when the players are all chomped to be playing at Twickenham, kind of making the choices for yourselves and the coaching staff make quite difficult.
Yeah, and that's something I alluded to earlier, that we're in such a luxurious position in terms of the quality of players we've got, the depth we've got, and actually the state of health of the squad we're in at the moment. It makes my life a bit of a nightmare. And all the coaches a bit of a nightmare in the week. But on the plus of that, like I said earlier, it's just driving standards in training. And ultimately, if you get good training during the week, it will often translate to a good performance at the weekend.
And just finally for me, you kind of touched on it before about that kind of type 5 ball coming on it 50, 60 minutes. Just how happy does that kind of make you as a coach, knowing that impact is going to be the same from if they were starting, and kind of you can rotate in and out and it just works so cohesively?
It's a very luxurious position to be. I'm not going to lie. It's definitely the first time I had it. I think probably the key to it is the individuals that are involved in it. And that, again, that's the starters and the guys that will come off the bench, that they've really bought into this idea that intensity piece is really important. So the guys that start know they can absolutely go after it and be, empty the tank and really go after stuff physically, because they know that the cavalry is coming. And likewise, the guys that come off the bench, they know they've got such a key role in terms of finishing the game. And again, how important they are with that energy that they bring and can add to the game. It's really useful, but then also the individuals have made it a really useful tool as well in terms of their buy into it.
Perfect. Cheers, Steve. Thank you. Hi, Connie. Just a couple of quick ones from me. You mentioned Al before. Just how much of an impact has she had kind of on the pitch and off the pitch, kind of such a big name and also a big personality as well?
Yeah, she's amazing. Like her performances are sort of spoke for herself. And I think that's the way she's come into the environment. She's like led by her actions, and she's just let her play and do the talking. And I think that's how you ultimately gain respect from people really quickly. That like her stats are wild week in, week out consistently. And like as a person, she's like perfect for the environment. Like she's always having a laugh, always positive, and like I said, drives standards forward in training. Like her intensity she brings naturally makes other people rise up to it, and it makes training really competitive too.
And obviously yourself and Karis kind of have that brilliant connection and go with the bomb squad at 50, 60 minutes. Just how much do you two kind of learn off each other and grow as players from each other?
Yeah, like she's got so much experience, and if I've got something wrong at the back of a maul or in a scrum, like she'd be the first person I'd go and ask about it. And like there's constantly just driving each other to be better, to be honest. I know if I'm not on my A game in training, she will be. And like I say, if I mess it up in a game or I'm not at my best, I know she's coming off the bench at 50 and she'll put her best foot forward. So yeah, it's really healthy competition, and ultimately like that's what wins you leagues and wins you trophies, is having a squad of players. It's not just her. It's like Maya too could step in as she plays back row at the minute for us, but actually she could step in and do a cracking job at hooker like she did before we were all back from WXV. So yeah, like everyone's learning off each other, like I say. But yeah, Karis is a great girl and gives me loads of tips. Yeah.
And kind of you mentioned the kind of the bomb squad thing then again, just kind of what's it like knowing you're starting and knowing you're going to be coming off pretty much most weeks at 50, 55 minutes?
I think you just go into the game thinking that you can attack it. I think you do any game you play, and you obviously want to go and put your best foot forward, but you've got a bit of security knowing that you can absolutely go and do as much work as you can get through and try and get some quality work in, because your time's limited. I think the week before against Ealing, after half time, there was like a moment we had a big scrum moment, and I sort of said to everybody, like this is probably going to be like one of the last things we do, so like let's try and be as good as we can, because you just know at that 50 you're coming off, and like seeing the girls coming on is amazing. Sari's away coming off and you just see them all running on like raring to go, and yeah, you're just sort of like wow, I've done my job. I've worked as hard as I can and I've done as much as I can. And now they're coming on and I wouldn't want to be playing against them, sort of thing, at 60 minutes, knowing they're coming on.
Do you think it's kind of a mental thing for the player of an opposition knowing you've got these 5 players, all international quality, coming on and kind of making an impact going, you go, oh, we've got another lot coming.
Yeah, God, I think, you're playing a team, it doesn't matter who it is, but you're on it 50, 60 minutes, you look at momentum 9 times out of 10, that's one of the teams at that point is going to lose momentum. That's when you have to really dig into a game, and knowing that how Ross is putting all the subs on at once, pretty much, and having our 5 forwards swap off. It's got to be mentally tiring, and some people probably dread it, but other teams will probably like relish in it, and that might get them up as well. It's sort of hard, you don't know what people's psychology are like. Other teams might start doing it against us too. So yeah, I don't think you can put too much sort of emphasis on it, but yeah, I think you just see them coming on, they just look so strong and ready to go, and yeah, I wouldn't really want to face it, I don't think.
Perfect. Cheers, Connie. Thank you. Best of luck for the weekend.
Thank you.
Obviously, massively tough conditions and disappointing result on the weekend. Just kind of what are your reflections kind of a couple of days on from that now?
To be honest, I've just parked it. Like, there's not a lot we can do about it. At the end of the day, the conditions were horrific, and it suited Gloucester's pack. I thought what we did at the weekend was we defended extremely well. We just never really got a foothold in the game. Couldn't get the set piece going, and pretty difficult to stop. Like you likes of Mode Muir, Zoe Allcroft, and Alex Matthews. Just running around the corner. There's not a lot we can do really on a day like that. It was a bit unfortunate as well. We felt the wind flipped as well at half time, so we were into the wind in the first half and into the wind in the second half. So even Mother Nature was against us.
You're looking forward to the conditions hopefully being a little bit better this weekend down in Beckett, Franklin's Gardens for Quins.
Yeah, it should be. I'm really excited for the game, to be fair. After Sunday, I was pretty disappointed with obviously how the conditions were, how we never really got going. It felt like it was a bit of a waste of an afternoon, if I'm being brutally honest. So I'm just actually really excited to get a decent game of rugby on versus Quins.
Obviously, the Quins game away at the Stoop was kind of one of those that I've heard players speak about kind of being frustrated about not getting over the line, felt a little bit unlucky to kind of not win that game. And just kind of, is that kind of your feelings as well about that game earlier on in the season? Kind of how excited are you to kind of right those wrongs from that one?
Yeah, I think it's probably been a little bit like our season so far. Like we I felt like we put a performance in against Saracens that was good enough to win the game. I think similar, we put a performance together that was good enough to win the game against Quins away, but unfortunately, we've not managed to get over the line. Hopefully at the weekend, it's one of those where we can finally get over the line.
Perfect. Cheers, Nathan. Thank you. And just kind of how tough was Saturday to play in? Obviously, as a hooker as well, kind of with those lineouts, horrible conditions down in Northampton.
Oh my gosh, it was actually my worst nightmare. I think that the rain and the winds, I can take, really hot weather, really cold weather, but it's the rain to make a slippery ball and the wind at line out time that really stressed me out probably the most. But we were so grateful to see so many fans out there despite the weather. There were a lot of young people out there with their own homemade signs. That was really touching. And, as terrible as it was for me to be running around in the really poor weather, having a really stressful time at set piece, there were young kids out there supporting us in the cold weather the whole time. So that was really touching.
He must be excited to get back out there with hopefully a little bit better weather this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously for anybody, better weather means better rugby. But for us, I think it really suits our game plan. So I'm really excited for that.
We spoke to Nathan kind of about the Quins game, their players kind of being nearly there, a lot of near misses this season. Just kind of how close do you feel Lightning are to getting one of those big scalps?
I think we're really ready. The analogy we've been using in training has been like we're like a volcano just waiting to erupt. Like we're really honestly on the precipice. I think the belief is there that we can beat a top four team, that we do deserve to be in the top four, that we're capable of beating, winning those games. I think that's really the belief is there. And I think the hard work is also there. Like we're training really hard. We're putting together a game plan that really suits our strengths. And I think we're so ready.
Obviously, we're kind of at that halfway point of the season now. Kind of what would look like a successful second half of the season for Loughborough Lightning?
Well, certainly going into the new year in these next two games, coming away with 5 points each would be really successful. That would put us in a really good position going into the new year and then hopefully riding that momentum. And I think we're very capable of achieving that, and it would really set us up for success.
Perfect. Cheers, Kathryn. Thank you.